So the way that Google works is that it goes out into the world and it indexes every website that it chooses to index or that it finds. It reviews it, it pulls all that information, and it puts it into its massive database. That when you type in those words, it looks at its own database and says, okay, I found these different sites. Now I'm going to show you what I found, and I'm going to create a link to go to that place. But it did not go out into the world and scrape all the websites that exist in the world. One of the things that it doesn't scrape are these full text database, these databases that libraries subscribe to. They don't allow anyone to access them because the companies that build them charge money for them, and costs a lot to put them together, and they don't use advertising as a way of making money the way that Google does. So in the early 2000s, libraries were trying to figure out how to compete with Google in this way because it's so easy to do a Google search, and you had to go to all these different databases to do your searches in libraries. And after some fits and starts, the product that they came up with was what's called a discovery layer. It has also gone out and it has indexed all of the content from these databases, but the companies that build discovery layers had to work with each company to get access and some agreements money-wise to be allowed to index all of that content and put it together. So there are two major discovery layers that exist right now. Excuse me. That's not true. There are three, but two of them come from the same company. So I'm going to go to what we call articles in full text. This is the discovery layer that we use at Cornell. So I can type in USS Monongahela here, and I'm going to see what comes back. And what it's doing is it found 834 entries from a bunch of different databases, and this was an article in All Hands from a military and government collection from Company A. Here's a book, an ebook that mentions Monongahela somewhere in there. Here's a newspaper article from the Uniontown Herald Standard. It's another thing from that same one. So all kinds of different entries that you find from all of these resources. And then you can access this if you're on campus. And then when you're on campus, you can also just get access to that particular resource as well. So it should be loading that. Here's the book that they were looking to get, and somewhere in here is the phrase Monongahela. So that's really neat to do, but you have to be like, I'm going to try another one just to show you a little bit more about what it's like. This is another ebook. There's a lot of ebooks that are coming back. Logbook of Francis Cunningham Lowry aboard the Monongahela sloop, 1902 to 1905, and this is from Archive Grid. This is a little bit different, but it's interesting to find. This is actually a logbook that is held in a library somewhere. I didn't know about this. I don't know what we're finding. It should still go through. Okay, here we go. And it actually took us back. It took us to a sort of a different version of WorldCat. It doesn't tell us what library is in here. And I have a blog post about how to solve this problem. This is a tricky little problem. What it was doing was looking in NUCMUC, National Union Catalog of Manuscript Collections. So just very briefly, you could look in NUCMUC to find out who owned this, if this really mattered to you. And if that doesn't make sense to you, that's fine. I will add a little mention about NUCMUC onto the page, and I'll add a link to the blog entry I wrote about how to find stuff, where it says that it exists in a library, but they're not going to tell you which library it is. Kind of annoying. So as I said, there are two main companies that sell discovery layers. there are two big companies that provide a lot of services in the library industry, and they sell databases as well. And one of them, ProQuest, the one that I used before, has the most newspapers in it. And the other company is called EBSCO. ProQuest won't let EBSCO reproduce any of the ProQuest content, and EBSCO won't let ProQuest reproduce any of the EBSCO content in the opposite discovery layer. So what that means is that if you want to search newspapers without having access to them, because let's step back a little bit, you can still search these discovery layers in many cases, even if you can't get to the actual content. So if you want to search discovery layers and you want to include newspapers in them, then you want to find a library that has that discovery layer from ProQuest. So there are ways of searching this out. Let's just say that Yale has, I've got instructions here, but why does it matter? If I tell you that Yale is one of those libraries, then that's enough, right? We know that they're one of the biggest libraries in the country. You just go to the Yale Library homepage and you find this quick search here. I have no connection with Yale. I don't have any access. I don't have any way of logging in to any of their resources. But I'm going to try typing I'm going to type Monongahela near Euler. I'm going to see what we find. So any of you can do this as well, even if you have no connection with Yale at all, and it's searching several hundred different databases in the background. Now, you cannot, in many instances, you cannot access that particular resource, but you can know that it exists, and that's 2/3 of the way to getting to it. So, bridge across Monongahela River near Reevesville. So this is a Senate document, so we probably could get directly to it because you shouldn't need to log into anything since it's freely available. So I'll look at something different. Something from Exciting Cities. Probably it's talking about, is it Monongahela, Pennsylvania, or New Jersey, perhaps. It says full text available, but I can't get to that because I don't have a way of logging in. But I know that it exists. So if I found if that sounded particularly interesting to me, I could then track down, say, okay, now I want to go track down Redbook, and I want to find out where I can find that particular article. And you can get in and actually do even more searching in here as well. I sometimes am astounded that you can get in and do so much of this searching without subscribing or having any connection with the institutions. And I believe that this is a super special, moderate, fairly advanced approach to a way of doing some searching, but it could be quite valuable in a lot of instances, regardless of your subject. Here's an article from Newsweek about that fire that we saw in the fleet oiler Monongahela. So all kinds of different things that we can find here. Again, this is at Yale. I've got no connection with Yale. You can do this searching just as well as I can when you start with the at the Yale Library homepage. Another thing that I want to highlight is another resource at university libraries and college libraries, and that is what they're called LibGuides, and they're directories that are created for students and for researchers. They're put together by expert reference librarians as a great way of learning more about specific subjects. And so if I'm interested in regional history, I'm going to say Pennsylvania history. I'm just guessing here. I don't I'm just going to put the word LibGuide in there, and I find the top hit is a Pennsylvania history guide from the State Library of Pennsylvania. We find a LibGuide here from Widener Library that's compiling a Pennsylvania legislative history. So that's not what we're looking for. This is a local history research guide for Indiana County from IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania. I find these so filled with fantastic information. You don't know exactly what you're going to find, but I feel like you're always going to find something useful. These are people who know a lot of information. They're highlighting the various resources that you might be able to use. They mentioned using American History and Life. That's the standard database for searching in American history, for example. And here's something very somewhat random and very specific: the Coal Culture Project. History of coal towns in the Indiana County area.